Arratsaldeon guztioi eta ongi etorriak etorkizuneko ongizatea eta demokrazia web mintegi honetara. Ongi etorriak telematikoki konektatua zaudeten guztioi eta bereziki ongi etorria gaurko hizlaria dugun Wichti. Ni naiz Markel Olano, Gipuzkoako diputatu nagusia, eta fisikoki guk behintzat hemen gaude Donostian, Gipuzkoako Foru Aldundian etorkizunerik ezeko gunean, eta gune honetan aztertzen ditugu Gipuzkoako etorkizuneko gai nagusiak gizartearekin batera. Espazio ireki badugu, eta gune honetan COVID-19 ondorioz, virtualki ere irekia dugu zalantzarik gabe. Nerekin batera goltzan dagoena Xabier Barandiaran da, estrategia eta ikerketa arduraduna Foru Aldundian, eta Bernarrek hitzaldia amaitu ondoren berak eramango du debatea edo gaur egungo ingurua. Nik hitz labur batzuk aipatzeko ze zentzu daukan hain zuzen ere etorkizuneko ongizatea eta demokrazia web mintegi hori martxan jartzea. Esan beharra daukat dana dakigun bezala eta gaurkoa bereziki egun txarra da, pandemiaren ikuspegitik, berri txarra ditugu egunero, eta garbi dagoena da horrek eragin zuzena egiten digula gure egunerokotasunean. Eta horrek ekartzen ditu eraldaketa oso bizkorrak gure gizartean, zentzu askotan, arlo ekonomikoan, arlo sozialean, eta etorkizunarik izen bitartez, programa honen bitartez nahi duguna da erantzun guztioi eta erronka guztioi eta batipat bizkortze eta azelerazio horri behar den bezala aurre egin hausnarketa sakon baten ondoren. Eta garbi daukaguna da hori egin dezakegula soilik gizartearekin batera eta modu irekian, modu kolaboratiboan. Gu sartu genuen, martxan jarri genuen hortarako eraiki duzuna etorkizunarik ez think tank bat, eta think tank horren garapenean sartzen da baita ere mintegi hau eta orain arte egin ditugun guztiak. Nire papera da Wicht aurkeztea, Suizako hezkuntza publikoko zuzendarik kantonalen lehendakaria dugu, eta baita ere Lausaneko Unibertsitateko Zientzia Politikako irakaslea. Bere hitzaldia izango da gobernantza konplexua eta demokrazia pandemia osteko munduan. Eta nik esango nuke bere hitzaldia ikusirik Suitza gainera oso ezaugarri berezia dituela, azkenean erakunde diferenteak, baita ere kultura, hizkuntza diferenteak nola bateratzen dituzten estatu bakar batean eta nola horrek eskatzen duen gobernantza ejerzizio oso aurreratu bat, nik uste dut guk bizi dugun egoera berezi honetan Suitzako esperientzia ezagutza guretzako oso komenigarria dela, eta baita ere demokraziari buruzko hausnarketa bat egiteko parada ezin hobe bat izan ere une honetan COVID-19ak tensio handian sartzen digu gure sistema instituzionala eta baita ere gure demokrazia. Eta tensio proba horretan garbi dago mundu mailako eta nazioarte mailako eta Europa mailako esperientzia aurreratuak ezagutzea guretzako oso lagungarri izan litekeela. Besterik gabe esan, guk etorkizunarekiz martxan jarri genuenean esperientzia aurreratu bat zela, bi oinarriz dituela, alde batetik gardentasuna eta beste batetik elkarlana gure gizarte antolatuarekin, oso gizarte antolatua daukagu Gipuzkoan, hori probestuz gobernantza ejerzizio berri bat martxan jarri genuen, eta gu garbi daukaguna da gobernantza berri hori ez dela aukera bat, baizik beharrezko ezinbesteko bide bat dela. Etorri zaigu gobernantza berri hori eta hemendik aurrera konstante bat izango da beharrezkoa ezinbestekoa etorkizunean. Besterik gabe, nik nire sarreratxoa ginen ondoren, Bernarri emango nioke hitza, eta zurea da hitza Bernar. Mila esker.
Thank you very much. Do you see me?
No?
No.
No.
Not now. Yes?
I turn on the camera. Okay,
Yeah,
fine.
okay. It's fine.
May I start?
Yes, you can start.
Okay, so thank you very much for this invitation. It's a great pleasure for me to be with you this afternoon and to speak a little bit about my country, Switzerland. How is it functioning at political level, but also at with an important factor of cultural diversity. I have to say that in Switzerland, I speak here foremost on behalf of my position in the University of Lausanne, where I am teaching political science. So I can speak quite freely about the different aspects of the policy and government of my country. First of all, what we have to say in Switzerland is everything is going very slowly. Everything is very slowly, and that's not a joke. That's not a joke. If we are starting a reform in education system, in political system, in health system, it takes generally at least 10 years. That is a rule, not a written rule, but a rule that we are noting in the functioning of the country. Everything is going very slowly, and not because, as it is always said as a joke, the Swiss are very slow, and if they wake up early, they start to think quite late. No, because of the decentralization. In Switzerland, there is a lot of important state affairs that are not dealt at national level, at federal level. We are a federal country, but a lot of important tasks are dealt at cantonal, even at communal level. To give you an example, education. Education is mostly a cantonal competencies. That means not only the cantons are able to organize the schools, but they pay for it. They pay for it with their own taxes. That explains why, when we are starting a reform, we cannot deal with one actor, a national ministry, with some local agencies, but we have to deal with 26 states, 26 cantonal ministers. 26 cantonal ministers that have their own agenda, and especially their own budget, because tax is mainly a cantonal competencies, and tax are not equal. That we must say that. If you are living in Zurich, the main city, the economical center of the country, your tax rate will be much lower if you are living in a more rural area or in mountains cantons. That means when we say the tax system is a cantonal competencies, that is really the canton that decide, okay, my rate of tax is so, and it could be really different from one place to another in Switzerland if you have the same salary. If you have the same salary, you will pay more tax if you are in Zurich as if you are in a smaller canton. Naturally, the cost of life is also much more expensive in Zurich. But just to say that when we speak about federalism and decentralization, it is really a fact that we are not equal. From Geneva to Zurich, from Bâle to Lugano, there is no equality system between the cantons and between the Swiss citizens. There is an historical explanation to this situation. because it was not Switzerland that makes the cantons, but the cantons that made Switzerland. That means those federate entities were the primary element of the Swiss state. And the federal state come much more later with some partial competencies. Even in other very important tasks of the state, like police, we have no federal police in Switzerland. We have only cantonal police. The only task at federal level is the border control. But the police system is a cantonal one. And also here, you can have a canton like a big canton that has a very strong police system because they need it, and a small canton that has quite a small police force because they don't think they need so much police forces. And also there is a police minister in every canton that can decide freely. In my cantons, the police system, it will be deal like that. I just give those examples quite simple to explain why this decentralization is so strong and why when we are working together, we are taking a lot of time because we need to bring all the partner together. And naturally, I am not objective when I'm speaking about my country. And there is a voice in Switzerland saying this decentralization, this federalism is much too complicated. We have to centralize a little bit more. In my personal opinion, this decentralization, even with all the long process of consultation, the long process of decision making, is a guarantee that all the stakeholders are involved, and that the citizen can really play a role in the decisions, the reform, and the creating of new laws. As you know, we are voting a lot, and also this voting system at federal and cantonal level is also an explanation why all our political organization is moving very slowly. I said there is an historical explanation. It's not Switzerland that made the cantons. It's a bottom-up country. The cantons made Switzerland. There is another reason, and that is cultural diversity, and especially linguistic diversity. And here we can also see that the construction of Switzerland was really not a nation building. Switzerland was never a nation state. Switzerland has nearly no nation building in history. It is a confederation. And the fact that we have 26 cantons and all this decentralization is a very important element to promote this cultural and linguistic diversity. That means we have 4 official and national languages: German, approximately 70% of the population; French, approximately 20% of the population; Italian, approximately 9%, and Romansh, a very old former Roman language, approximately 1% of the population. And the decentralization is also an important factor to keep and to safeguard this equilibrium, this balance between the different linguistic communities, and the fact that since the foundation of the country, the 4 languages stay just as they were in the first time when Switzerland was built at the end of the Middle Age. Here, I perhaps give some example of this construction of this linguistic diversity. It's also a charge. When we create the federal state, the first federal state, what we call modern Switzerland, without joking, if we are modern, perhaps once. When we create modern Switzerland at the end of the 19th century, it was 1874 when we adopt the first federal constitution. The question was in which we were creating a new state, the federal state, which was not existing previously. And the question was in which languages this state must publish the law, must publish the document, the minutes of the parliament, and. And it was said, okay, we will publish it in the three main languages of the country. That means German, French, and Italian. But it was at that time a decision, three official languages, a real, if I may say, a real technical decision. We were creating a new level of government, the federal state, and the question was in which languages this state must produce its decision. And it was okay because the three main languages spoken are German, French, and Italian. The situation changed after the Second World War, and it became a little bit ideological when Nazi Germany arose in northern of Switzerland and fascist Italy arose in south of Switzerland. And all those both countries were claiming one people, one language, one nation. And they were saying, okay, the German-speaking Swiss, they belong to Germany, and the Italian-speaking Swiss, they belong to Italy. And the answer of Switzerland, that was the first time when the linguistic question come to the forefront as an identity question. The answer of Switzerland was to say, no. We are a people, but with diverse cultural origin. And it was at that time that we recognized not only three official languages, German, French, and Italian, but four national languages. That means naturally German, French, Italian, and Romansh. It was a clear ideological answer to the threat of Nazi Germany and fascist Italy, and the answer of Switzerland to say, no, we are diverse, cultural diversity is our common paradigm, not as a nation, but as a country, as a confederation. This situation is quite important to understand why until now there is absolutely no discussion because German is largely spoken by the majority of the population, 70%. There was never a discussion to say, okay, then will German be the official languages in Switzerland, full stop, and if the people at home want to speak French, Italian, or Romansh, it's their own business. It was never this kind of discussion, and we can say that this identity reflex during the two world wars, between the two world wars, was most probably the most important factor to explain this situation today. What may I say also about our Swiss federalism? I said it is quite slow. All reform take at least 10 years. we decide to, another example in the field of education, we had one curricula for, I mean, each canton has its own education curricula. That means for compulsory education, we had more than 26 curricula for a country that is quite small. Now we are 8 million of inhabitants, but it's a very small country. You need, you take 3 hours by train to travel from Geneva to Zurich and to go from Basel to Lugano. That means it's a very geographical small area. But now we are going from this 26 curricula to 3 regional linguistic curricula, one for German speaking, one for French speaking, one for Italian and Roman speaking. But to achieve this, if I may say, this kind of centralization, it took us 15 years. It took us 15 years. And that means that, and when I explained that to other colleagues at international level, they are generally laughing. It's a Swiss joke. But if I may say, it's the only way that you can achieve the fact that every stakeholder are involved. Every stakeholder are able to participate. And when the reform is adopted, we are sure that at every level of the society, civil society, local level, cantonal level, federal level, the stakeholders are involved and are ready to put the project forward. I told you again, there is voice in Switzerland that say it's too long, it's too heavy, and those voices came especially when we were assisting the European construction. And as you know, we are not a member of the EU. We have some agreement with the EU, but the European construction is a big topic of discussion at political level in Switzerland. And some voices said, okay, if we want to be able to trade with Europe, to work with Europe, we cannot anymore have this decentralized system, this participation system, this voting system, and all those procedure. Interestingly, when in France in November 18, December 18, you have had the yellow jacket, may I say, turmoil. At that time, it was we have had a lot of question about the functioning of what we call direct democracy. The fact that the people can vote about law, could put constitutional initiatives, and I may say that it was the need to have a very difficult situation in France with popular classes really claiming against the government, so that the people in Europe said, perhaps this idea of direct democracy, of consultation, is not so old time. Is not so. How may I say? Is very. It could be very interesting in time of uncertainty, in time of economic difficulties, in time of political trouble. To give you another critical example, in 2009, Swiss people and the cantons vote to stop the construction of Muslim minaret. Like other Western countries, we have Muslim migration in Switzerland, and we had a reaction, a conservative reaction, putting this interdiction in the federal constitution: no construction of Muslim minaret in Switzerland for the Muslim community. And we were really strongly criticized. It's against freedom of religion. It's against the freedom of conscience. Are we going with that to break the law, to break the Convention of Human Rights? It is still a question. It is still a debate. But after that, we saw the famous Pediga movement in Germany, where they simply burn the location where the Muslim communities were living. And in this situation, we are always saying it's better to have vote, even if it's a question in terms of rule of law, than to have such difficulties with the Pediga and far-right movement in Germany. And it is interesting to note that Pediga movement in Germany tried to expand in Switzerland, in German, first of all, in German-speaking Switzerland, and they were not able to do it. It was no interest in our country for this German Pediga movement of right wing. I think. So I think I have tried to give you perhaps not an overview, but some elements to discuss the functioning of the democracy and the federalism in Switzerland, always according to the fact that we are a multilingual society with 4 national and official languages, and that's the system of cantonalism, that is 26 states inside a very small country with a federal government, is also a very important element of social flexibility. Of social flexibility, I take the example now of COVID-19. We have in the French-speaking part of Switzerland, for I don't know what kind of reason, a stronger epidemic stream as in the German-speaking part. That means we are confined in some French-speaking cantons, and not in some German-speaking cantons. But on the other side, we can bring the people from that are in the hospital in Geneva and Lausanne. We can bring them to Zurich, where there is, or Bern or Saint-Gall, where there is a lot of, where there is much less of infection. This is a flexibility that is not going through the centralization, because it's agreement between the cantons. I think I stop here my presentation, and we can have, if you would like, a discussion about that, and I can answer questions. I hope I was somewhat clear about quite a complex subject.
Mila esker, Bernard Wicht, jauna, zure hitzaldiagatik. Orain garbiago daukagu, Suitzako egitura. Nik galdera pare bat luzatu nahi nizkizuke, pixka bat gauza pare batean sakontzeko. Eta gero, segurazki modu urrutikoan edo telematikoan jarraitzen ari direnek ere galderak egiteko aukera izango du. Lehenengo galdera da, horrelako egitura deszentralizatu batean, eta bereziki horren beste parte hartzea sustatzen den gune batean, momentu honetan zuek antzematen duzue Europan baino desafekzio gutxiago dagoela politikarekiko, sistema politikoarekiko, hori nabarmen antzematen da, edo ez. Gustatuko litzaidake hori jakitea. Eta bigarren galdera dauka zerikusia bereziki nazio eraikuntzarekin. Ez alda gertatzen Suitzan kantoi batzuk edo hizkuntza batzuk hitz egiten dituzten, nagusia diren hizkuntzak hitz egiten dituzten guneak gainontzeko guneekiko nagusitasuna hartzen dutela. Bi galdera horiek egin nahi nizkizun.
Thank you very much. About the disaffection toward politics, it's a difficult answer because we are voting a lot. To give you an example, we are voting at least 4 times each year on very different subjects. That means there is a strong involvement in the referendum, in initiatives. But there is a lot of people that are not concerned. So that means we are not an example of strong participation. The ratio is about 40 to 50% of participation to each vote. And when we are going more than 50%, we say, okay, it was a very important subject. It was a strong mobilization. That means the fact that we are voting a lot may make also a problem with people saying, okay, with this question, I'm not concerned. We will vote end of November about 2 federal topics. The one is multinational that are located in Switzerland, with seat in Switzerland. The initiative said should respect very strictly human rights and sustainable development. And in this discussion now, we see there is 2 fronts, very important. The front saying human rights, sustainable development, and we must open the way. The other said we are too small to start here. It's not our job. But there is also a lot of people that say, in my daily business, I'm not concerned with multinational working all over the world with seat in Switzerland. And that is why I will not say we are an example against disaffection in politics. We are not an example in this fact that 40-50% of population, active population, Swiss citizens, are active, are participating to all the different vote. It's not so much. But on important topics, we see a very important mobilization. And also where we are quite, where we can show a satisfaction, if I may say, we are able to deal with very, very difficult subjects. Very difficult subject, like, for instance, genetic manipulation. We had a vote on this topic. Very difficult subject about having a participation in peace enforcement at international level or not, and that means we are able to deal, and that's a very a very good news for democracy, not only in my country, but also all for Europe. We are, citizens are able to deal with a very complex subject and to be able to take a decision. That is very important. That is very important. Naturally, I speak previously about the interdiction of minaret building in Switzerland. We have also populist vote or very left wing proposal, like having the same salary for everybody or things like that. That means there is a possibility for everybody to speak, and that's a very good news for democracy. But I will not say we are an example against disaffection in democratic life. The exception is I will perhaps come back again when there is this vote in Great Britain against EU, and it was clear for us in Switzerland that it was not a decision about EU or not, but it was the first time a lot of British citizens were able to express themselves in favor or against the government, and they took this decision. That was our perception of the decision, like the election of Mr. Trump in United States 4 years ago. And we are quite convinced that the fact that we are able to vote on very clear subject of society, very clear questions. Will you be in Europe or outside Europe? With what kind of consequences? And it is a way to really foster democracy and to keep it alive. That's our point of view from Switzerland. The second question was about the language. We are in a situation that we have a territorial organization of languages, also coming from history. There is 4 multilingual cantons. The one in where I live, Fribourg, which is bilingual, French and German. The neighboring canton, Bern, which is also bilingual, French and German. The Graubünden cantons in eastern Switzerland, which is lingual, German, Italian, and Romansh. And the last canton is Valais, with also bilingual French and German. But the organization of language is territorial. That means if you are traveling from one canton to other, I give you as an example. You are French-speaking family. You have your children. They are educated in school in Geneva. They are educated in French. And suddenly you get the father or the mother, they get the big job in Zurich, and the whole family decide to travel to Zurich and to get their lives there. The children will have to go to the school in German. They will speak French at home. They can have private schooling in French if the parents wanted to pay for it. But if they are going to the public school, they will have public school in German. The same for German-speaking traveling to Geneva. If they are traveling, the children have to go to the French school, the French-speaking school. That means the territorial organization of the language is a very important part. And it was also a debate. And now it is clear that I think that it is clear for the majority of the people in Switzerland that this territorial organization of the language is also a key element of diversity, especially for the less important community. You imagine in Tessin, where a lot of Swiss citizens from German-speaking citizens, French-speaking citizens go to the Tessin. If there would be not the fact that in Tessin, the Italian-speaking cantons, the local official schooling language is Italian, it would be no more Italian cantons in Switzerland. There are only 9% of the population. That's why the territorial organization of the language and the language policy is very important. But it was also a long discussion, especially in the 90s. Should we promote the freedom of language? That means everybody can speak his own language everywhere in Switzerland, not only in private, but also in public, with administration and in education, or should we keep the territorial organization? And we stick to territorial organization. 20 years after, we can say, at least for the cultural diversity, it was a good choice.
Erki, galdera hori egiten nun, zeren adibidez, Euskal Herriaren kasuan, Espainiako estatuan, hizkuntzak biak dira, adibidez ofizialak, baina biak ez dute estatus bera. Eta beraz, joera da hizkuntza nagusiak, hizkuntza txikia, naiz eta ofizialtasuna izan, nolabait ere hizkuntza nazionala benetan gaztelera bilakatzen da Espainiako estatuan. Eta horrek nolabait ere dependentzia egoera bat sortzen du eta bilinguismo egoeratik egoera diglosiko batetara pasatzeko arriskua dago, ez? Edozein kasutan, beste galdera bat luzatu nahi nizuke, zeren Gipuzkoan sortu berri da gizarte berrikuntzako, Gipuzkoa da Euskal Herrian lurralde historiko bat, sortu berri da hain zuzen ere gizarte berrikuntzako laborategi interesgarri bat, eta bertako zuzendaria dago hain zuzen ere zure hitzaldia jarraitzen, saio jarraitzen ari da, eta Naiara Goia izena du, eta berak galdetzen du herritarrek agenda politikoan parte hartzeko edo implikazioa areagotzeko dituzuen mekanismo edo kanal zehatzen bat azpimarratuko zenuke? Hori da galdera zehatza.
Also, we have to be clear. The most important question for the daily life of the citizen are regulated at communal level. And at communal level, you are able to participate, I will say, on a day-to-day basis. We are paying tax at communal level. And also the tax are different if you are you are living in a wealthy commune or in a less wealthy commune. So the tax system is also a first element. And after that, you know, okay, I pay a lot of tax, and the commune where I live is willing to build a big swimming pool. No, I don't agree, because I think I pay enough tax. I give you this example because it's a daily discussion in the communes about what projects should we conduct and what are we able to pay for it. That's the first element of really concrete participation. The second element of participation, always at communal level, is school. Primary school are of the competence of the communes. That means When you are sending a primary school, it's approximately between 6 years old and 12 years old. They are the first 6 years of compulsory education. And here also the possibility to intervene is quite important, because you are not you personally, but with your tax at communal level, you are paying the teacher. And so you can you have always, and that's for sometimes for teacher it's quite heavy. You have parents going to the communal administration and say, "No, I completely disagree. What we have in school is not good enough," or things like that. That means it can be very, very, very concrete. And as I said, for the teacher, not always very comfortable to be confronted with parents imaginating they are the best pedagogue in the world. And that's also this participation is important. After that, at cantonal level, we have also the consultation process. That means the cantons decide to create to build in a part of the cantons a big industry. And you have, and especially now, strong reaction, say, "Oh, well, you are creating industry, but it was a green zone, it was a zone with forest, and it was a zone where the family and the children can." We are not agree, and you have strong struggle, and sometimes the cantons must say, "Okay, we are not doing that," or reverse. A commune said, "Okay, the cantons will do that, but here we prefer to sell this part of land for economic for an enterprises, because this enterprise will bring us jobs." That means at local and cantonal level, the participation is quite strong, making the life of the politician not very easy. And it's also good news for democracy, because a cantonal or communal politicians, men or women, cannot make promise and after 2 days said, "Okay, it was promise, but sorry, it didn't work." He must give some result, and if not, he will not elected again. I think this system is quite heavy. It took time. I told you 10 years for reform and so on, because the people, they are expressing themselves and say, "Oh no, we disagree. No, we don't want that," and so on and so on. The participation at this level is very important. Not always useful. Not always with the best result, but the implication is quite strong. At federal level, it's a bit different. At federal level, the participation is really like in other countries, through political party, referendum, constitutional initiative, different way of vote, but not so much with action of civil society or a group of citizens acting against or in favor of something.
Barkatu, eskatuko genizuke, erantzunetan pixka laburrago, ze galdera asko ari zaizkigu sartzen, eta hola galdera guztiak egingo ditugu. Orduan, Euskal Herriko Unibertsitatetik galdetzen digute, aipatu duzu neurri batean sistema lentoa dela, motela dela, bere denbora behar duela, Ze papel jokatzen dute teknologia berriek, hain zuzen ere, parte hartzeko prozesu hauetan, deliberazio prozesu hauetan?
No. No, until now, no. To be very quick in my answer, new technology don't play a role, but not in the way how they are making the decision process, the decision making process quicker. No.
Eskerrik asko. Deustuko Unibertsitatetik galdetzen digute, gaur sistema politikoan dugun arazo importantenetako bat, da hain zuzen ere administrazio publikoa oso burokratizatuta dagoela, eta horrek asko zailtzen duela hain zuzen ere herri politiken garapena. Zer balorazio egiten duzu momentu honetan Suizan eta kantoietan eta sistema federalean administrazio publikoak duen herri politika garatzeko prozesuaren inguruan?
I will not say it's the best system, but I cannot compare with Basque region or Spain because I don't know enough the political organization of your country. I can compare with the neighboring country, France, Germany, Italy, and here I will say we are clear. We have clear, less red tape bureaucracy. Clear, because you can have a lot of administrative procedure happens at local level, where the procedure is quite easy. That's why our system is sometimes so difficult to understand, because the local level is completely autonomous in its decision, and so the people living in a locality, in a small town, in a village, they address the communal administration for the question. I will not say it's perfect, but in comparison with our neighboring country, we have clearly less red tape.
Eskerrik asko. Beste galdera bat talde ekologista batetik egiten digute, hain zuzen ere, sistema politikoan parte hartzeko bozketatik aparte, kantoietan edo egiten diren bozketatik aparte, gizarte organizatuak, gizarte mugimenduek badaukate aukerarik sistema politikoan parte hartzeko?
Oh yes. Now we will at the end of November we will have this vote. I talk about having this human rights and sustainable development obligation for multinational with Switzerland. That's not a political party proposal. It's coming from civil society, from association, organization of ecological interest and human rights interest, amnesty, and so on. The main political parties in Switzerland are against these initiatives, but they were able to put it on to the vote at federal level, because to have an initiatives being put for vote at federal level, that means for all Switzerland, you need 100,000 signatures. It's not so much. If you have 3 months to collect it. I will not say the card player of a small local commune are able to do that, but an association, even at cantonal level, is able to do that. quite easily.
Eskerrik asko. Beste ikusle batek adierazten digu, bueno, lehenik eta behin eskerrik asko hitzaldi argiagatik eta interesgarriagatik, eta galdetzen digu hain zuzen ere nola ikusten duzun Suitzaren etorkizuna agenda 2030 dagokionean. Bereziki, aldaketa klimatikoa, agenda politiko berria, bereziki munduan ematen ari diren aldaketak, nola eragingo dio herri administrazioko herri politikei?
I will say on one side, we have at the moment a very strong movement in the civil society in favor of 2030 agenda and the goals of sustainable development. We have these initiatives end of November. We have had the previous one before. We have a strong movement in the civil society. I will not say completely outside of the political parties, what we call in Switzerland the green parties are strongly involved, but the movement is really coming from the civil society. That's on one side. On the other side, Switzerland is a very liberal country in economic point of view. That means we are really a free market society. The social state is not very developed, and in comparison with neighboring states, we are nearly a no social state country. It's perhaps too heavy to say that, but in comparison with France, Germany, we have a social care that is very, very primitive, and that means this liberal aspect of Switzerland, the free market, is very important. And with the globalization, we have the tendency to open more and more the market to the globalized firms, to the globalized companies. Not only the banks. Banks are only 6 to 7% of the GDP of Switzerland, but the pharma, all the big multinational companies are coming to our country because we are a liberal free market society. And I think that these two movements, one side sustainable development, 2030 goal and vision for the future, and on the other side this tendency of globalization, free market, big business, I think they will come more and more in opposition.
Mila esker, azkenengo galdera, ez genuk gehiegi ere luzatu nahi. Deustoko Unibertsitateko komunikazioko irakaslea den Jon Muñoak lehenengo eskartzen du hitzaldia, oso hitzaldi interesgarria eta gertukoa, eta galdera honako egiten du. Nola uztartzen da hain kultura eta hizkuntza ezberdinak dituen gizarte konfederatu batean, halako nazio identitate suitzar indartsu batekin?
It's here I will say it's an historical process, and the main element in this historical process is that we were never a nation state. That means it was never a part or a center who tried to impose the official cultures, official language to the other part of the countries. That's a bit the most interesting question about Swiss history. When Switzerland was created at the end of the Middle Age as a league of city republic, peasant republic, and merchant republic, and so on, it was nothing special. It was absolutely nothing special. At that time, you had the same in Germany with the Hansa. You had a much better league with the Italian city, Italian Renaissance city. You had the same in Flanders, in the Low Countries. The fact is that all those other form of league of cities and republic and disappeared, and Switzerland not. And that's probably the key element that explains that, because this construction remained nearly untouched. If you see the geographical card, the political card of the country in the 16th century and now, there is not so much difference. And because of the situation, we remain the confederation, we remain the fact that there is no center. There is, naturally, Zurich is the most important economical center, but the capital is in Bern. Bern it's a kind of village. The great international place is not Bern nor Zurich, it is Geneva. The great place for pharma and so on is Basel. That means I was interested to read in a French political science book. They were making the difference between strong center and strong state, and Switzerland was at the end of this catalog saying a country without center and without state. It's a bit too an exaggeration, but I think it is in this key element that we can explain that the balance between the different cultural community is maintained until today.
Egia esan galdera asko sartu zaizkigu, baina galdera hauetako gehienak azkenengoak behintzat
I have time.
Daukate zerikusia demokrazia liberalak bizi duen krisiarekin eta populismoarekin. Demokrazia liberalaren krisiarekin eta horrek eman duen populismo egoerarekin. Zein da zure iritzia gai honen inguruan eta bereziki nola kokatzen da eztabaida hau Suitzan?
We have a very strong debate about populism, and the fact this debate is especially intervening in the framework of belonging or not to the EU. But the most important political party in Switzerland is a populist party. And it's about 30% of the member of the federal parliament belongs to this party. That means the debate is very important, and it's about belonging or not to the EU and the migration. Migration now, since 1 year, 2 years, migration debate is a bit on the side, but during the last 10 years, the migration debate was the key debate in Switzerland. And it was also the key element because explaining why we were not going toward EU, why we are always discussing the fact that free circulation of people in Europe, is it good for our country or not? It is the migration question was very at the heart of the political debate. This year, this year, a little bit less, but it was a very important debate with the growing of this populist party. This populist party was not so strong 20 years ago. It was one of the small party in the country. The big party were Christian Democrats, liberals, and socialists. And suddenly they arose in the framework of the federal and cantonal discussion, and now they are the main political party in the country. That means liberal democracy is at stake. Like we have seen in Great Britain, in France, in Italy, in United States. Liberal democracy is at stake, but perhaps we can also say because liberal democracy forget a little bit the popular classes, the middle and popular classes. That were the great loser of the globalization movement. And in Switzerland, we can say until now the economical situation is very good, that we have a 2% or 3% of unemployment in the country. But even though the debate is strong, that means in the future we have to think about liberal democracy, but not only saying, okay, liberal democracy is the best solution and the populists are the guy that don't understand anything. We have now a lot of political scientists writing on this topic with very interesting remarks saying, attention, if we have this situation of liberal democracy against populism, it's because liberal democracy in some way forget the people.
Hoi jauna, mila esker zure hitzaldiagatik, erantzun guztiengatik, guretzat ohore handi bat izan da gaur gurekin izatea, gure proiektua Gipuzkoan etorkizuna eraikiz xumea da, baina ikasi nahi genuke, hain zuzen ere, beste herrialdeetatik, Suitza bezalako Suitza, eta uste dugu etorkizunean jarraitu behar dugula baita ere eztabaidatzen nola lortu jendearen parte hartzea, nola lortu herri politikak eraginkorragoak egitea, nola aldatu gure agenda munduaren eraldaketari ondo erantzuteko, eta azken finean demokrazian sakontzeko. Eta horretarako zu bezalako adituak ezinbesteko lagunak behar ditugu horrelako bidaia batean. Besterik gabe, baita ere eskertu, gaur hitzaldi honetara gerturatu diren ikusle entzule guztiei, eta baita ere mila esker galderak egin dituzuen guztiei, etorkizuna eraikitzen jarraituko dugu eztabaidatzen, jarraituko dugu hausnartzen gure herri politiken eta gure gobernantzaren etorkizunaz. Mila esker.